This is the ultimate, man. Fuck you, you hoe. Come and say in my face, fuck you ass for everybody. You bitch, come on, you bitch. You scared coward. You not man enough to fuck with me. You can't last 2 minutes in my world, bitch. You can't touch me, you're not man enough. I'll eat your asshole alive, you bitch.
I wish one of you guys had children so I could kick them in the fucking head or stomp on their testicles so you could feel my pain, because that's the pain I had waking up every day.
Alright, this is my personal story about dealing with my COVID-19 in March of 2020. This is a story about my personal fight to survive COVID-19, explaining to the world how I fought this COVID-19, this thing headlong and head on as much as I can possibly explain it with my own words and my own sentences. Okay, so this thing started with me going to a few stores. I got very sick in March of 2020. This COVID thing really hit me hard and fast. I mean, it just came after me. It went poof. And this sickness that was like a fast-acting sickness, very swift sickness. I endured this thing for several days, and I had lack of sleep because of this thing called the COVID-19. And I'm thinking I probably caught it at a store somewhere, second to third month of March 2020. Okay, I walk into this store, and people were like 2 feet away from me, coughing, sneezing, all these crazy things, and I get my items, I get my groceries, and I start to incessantly cough and sneeze in this 10 items or less line, and it just hit me very hard. I mean, it just came after me. I had this on again and off again fevers thing and a sore throat to start with. That's how it started, and I felt like my lungs were infected with asbestos and fiberglass. That's the best way I can describe it. An almost non-existent cough as well to start. It was pretty bad. There were no ERs in my area open because they were all on lockdowns, supreme lockdowns in the same month the lockdown started. So, you know, my general hometown, and came about. I had the lack of sleep, really bad on and off again fevers. They lasted me for days on end. I'm gonna say roughly 4 to 5 days. The coronavirus was nasty to me. I mean, it was just nasty, and I was just, it wasn't fun, folks. Okay, so I was in a total sleep period for, I'm gonna say 4 days. There's 2 days that were roughly the coma days. I would say I was in a coma, but every once in a while I'd get up, use the restroom, catch a break, but I was out with this stuff, and you know, so the art that you see in this video is based off of that scenario that I had when I was in the coma sleep state. And okay, when I drew the COVID molecule that I drew and created in this art piece in this video here, it's based off of this subconscious, for real, dream void fight scenario that I had, and it's completely completely based on like God, Jesus, the Messiah, the Holy Ghost helping me fight this evil COVID-19 disease. It was terrible. But the COVID that I made in this art is based off of foresights as well that I had with seeing this COVID-19 being made in a lab in China, okay, Wuhan, China, and I distinctly remember the word Wuhan, bold letters, Wuhan, during my spiritual fights with this COVID-19 thing that I was going, and they were in red letters, Wuhan, or Wuhan strain. It's related to that. Okay, so in this art that I'd done, I have this Jewish beard, because I'm a redhead, and there's like a little bit of gray on my beard now. Well, I wouldn't say gray, more like white. They think like Bonnie Raitt. Okay, so I have the Jewish beard, and I was being fitted for my gloves, put on by the Lord himself, El Shaddai, Adonai, and these gloves were like my battle gloves, right? And that's what I remembered in this really deep, lucid, dreamlike state, but it was a reality state, right? Okay, God himself put these gloves on me in some sort of boxing ring. I want to say an MMA ring, but it was more like a boxing ring. So think like Mike Tyson. Think like you're in a battle. And I was in this thing where, it's a boxing fight for my life, telling me to fight this COVID-19 thing full on, head on, right? Okay, white gloves. These gloves were white, okay? They weren't red, they weren't black, they were white gloves with two golden knife prongs on each glove, right? On the boxing glove, telling me I was a warrior. They told me you gotta fight this, and that's what it was like, because oh man, this whole thing where it was like, they told me you've got to fight this, you've got to fight the COVID-19, this coronavirus, and then you're gonna recuperate from it. Okay, and it's crazy because this COVID thing was trying to go after my flaws, right? It is crazy. And I said, bad move, you dumbass fucking COVID, to attack me out of the blue, you imp-like little sinful dwarf demonic disease. I mean, because this thing's nothing like a cold. It's got cold, but it's way more fast acting. It'll attack you faster. Like the COVID-19 deliberately tried to attack my aversions with my PTSD and my anger and my cussing spells with my Tourette's syndrome. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so I was so very angry and ticked off when this disease attacked me and tried to take me out. And I had these thoughts in my head, these critical thoughts, right? And I said to myself, what the fuck is this shit I'm going through? This disease is terrible, trying to attack me out of the blue. You fucking disease, you motherfucker. I never wanted this disease. No, I never needed this thing in my body at all. I said, you know what, COVID-19, you're going down, man. You're going down. I'm gonna fight you, COVID-19. I'm gonna fight you, coronavirus. I never even asked for you to be in my body at all, and it just came so suddenly. Like it. I'm gonna say this. It came to me about 2 or 3 days. And I got even more angry when I was in this unconscious coma-like state, you know, going through life. And I was extremely pissed off. I was so fucking mad when this thing attacked me. And, you know, in this unconscious state that I was in, I was very determined to fight this thing with my 2 fists, man. And the artwork, you know, you see it looks, you know, the COVID strain that I drew looks oriental. I meant to do it like that, you know. But, you know, with the Holy Trinity's help all around me, I was in the trenches but still fighting my battles with my own COVID-19 in early March 2020. The second week of March 2020 is when I contracted this thing in a public store, probably due to bad air vents that sucked in shoppers, you know, coronavirus, or, you know, they're breathing, you know, they're COVID-19 particles. Well, okay, when I was doing this art, right, I remember, okay, in this very deep dream that I had, I remember it being like Mike Tyson, you know, like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, or, you know, like a Mike Tyson battle, using a Mike Tyson-like uppercut to this COVID's head and whacking the shit out of this head, and to the COVID-19 itself, and it's spitting blood, and, you know, whatever's coming out of its mouth, and I uppercut the shit like an aggressive Mike Tyson fight. And that's what I'd remembered in this dream that I had. So you got to think like Mike Tyson in a boxing match versus a Pac-Man ghost. So basically, this is how I approach this art. You know, me just beating the shit out of this COVID-19, this coronavirus molecule, with, you know, God, Jesus, Holy Ghost force in this unconscious state of mine. Okay, when I got out of bed, you know, I was weary. I felt like I was in this fight, because it was a real fight, and my body, each and every day after this happened, you know, I was finally starting to get the deep sleep after, you know, loss of sleep and, you know, really intense fevers. I'm gonna say it was about 2 days after that, but it was a slow climb. It was a slow recuperation. Okay, my cats, love my cats, Jet and Tigger. So Jet's my black saber-toothed boy, that's what I call him, and Tigger's the one that I adopted after he got abandoned at my doorstep. He was literally abandoned. You know, they both knew I was morbidly sick, and, you know, they looked after me even in my unconscious state. So 2 cats, no people, self-quarantine. I had to quarantine a lot. And, this is my real story. I mean, and there was a time that I was having real problems moving my body. I thought I was paralyzed, but I had to reteach myself to move around again. And I get kind of grumpy and stubborn, probably due to my Tourette's syndrome, and but in a good way. I had to literally self-will my body to even get it to move. I was in some sort of paralysis state, and the Lord God, El Shaddai, and the Holy Trinity told me while I was in this deep state. They said, get up. You can move, man. You ain't paralyzed, man. It's a trick of the enemy. Now get up, MICKMO. Get up. Get up now. And I had to think to myself that, yes, I can move again. It's a trick. I'm not really paralyzed. And I basically had to reteach parts of my body to move again. I do remember that. That wasn't an easy thing for me, but it was a part of the cage fight of this coronavirus thing that I was dealing with. And yes, I think you can survive this, but you gotta be calculated. You gotta know what you're doing. I really do. You gotta be prepared for a battle. And then I had to recoup. I drank lots of water, and I took 3 to 4 times as much Theraflu as I had ever taken in one day. And I had to do this every day to counteract the after effects of what this COVID did to me. Lots of pain pills, fever pills, vitamin C, to counteract my fight with this evil fucking COVID-19, this damn coronavirus. It's so easy to catch. And then after I went through all of that, right, eventually I started the work of this one art piece that's included in this video. And I must have done it, about maybe a month later, so April 2020. And remembering the scenario that I had, the Mike Tyson uppercut, but, COVID-19's a new disease, and it's never been a thing, but, worldwide, globally, I had this thing, and it wasn't any fun for me, okay, growing up, I had chicken pox, and I survived it, and I was a sophomore in high school, and I had a really bad pneumonia. That was my first really bad pneumonia. I had other pneumonias too. I had one in going to art school, going to art colleges, getting my dual associate's degree in art, basically like 2 degrees. So what do you say, bachelor's, whatever. My life's been kind of a fight anyway, but I had to fight these odds anyway in my life, survival odds, and that's part of it. And all of this stuff that I battled through my life, it taught me, came up to this point and I said, okay, you can fight this COVID-19. And that's what I had to do. And, the COVID-19 was a really fast-paced thing. And I remember the entire Holy Trinity, infinite heavens, telling me, you have to fight this thing, man. Have to fight this thing, MICKMO. Put on your God armor, spirit gloves, and you fight this thing. You duke this thing out. You duke this thing out like a boxing match. And I think of that song Curb Stomp by the band Abnormality, and that was a motivation song for me fighting this thing. Curb Stomp by Abnormality, and they're on Metal Blade Records, and I say check them out. They're a great band. I had to fight this COVID-19 thing full on and headlong. It wasn't pretty. It was very ugly, and for the fight of one's health, sometimes an ongoing thing. You fight this thing the same way you go into a mosh pit, in some metal show somewhere, some intense grindcore show. And in college I had self-defense classes of how to take on an attacker. I remember that in the COVID-19 fight that I had to take on. It wasn't a pretty fight. It was ugly. And but I had that in art school. I had that in art college. And later on, I was told spiritually about this thing, about the Wuhan, right? Wuhan, I just remembered that word, Wuhan. Red letters referring to the Wuhan strain in China where this disease was made and then got out to the world. And that, isn't that crazy? It's crazy, but that's what I was told. In a deep dream, I was told this, and this thing that's like a manufactured disease, because this thing is intensely, rapid paced, and it attacked me, and I dare say it was, even chuckling at me while trying to fight me, even after I got out of the dream scenario, a bio disease during its bio attack. But but me being a metalhead, I love metal music, thrash metal, death metal, black metal, grindcore, whatever. And having Tourette's, I've had Tourette's since probably I was in high school, when I started noticing my twitches and shit. I said, okay, COVID-19, COVID-19, you went after the wrong fucking person today. You went after the wrong one. You went after me, MICKMO. I had to fight this thing with the entire heavens and the Holy Trinity behind me, backing me up with one powerful uppercut to this bastard of a demonic disease. It's what it is. That's what it is, folks. And when you honestly tell people, yes, I had the COVID-19, yes, I had it, and I survived it, they tend to treat you the same way as a person has like leprosy or some other bad thing. They don't want to get near you, much less touch you. Yeah, I know about social distancing, but yeah, it's an intense thing. It's like, it's a misunderstood thing in 2020 because society, hospitals, whatever, they weren't prepared for this at all. It was just so sudden, the lockdowns in 2020, but yeah, it's a thing that you gotta beat anyway when you do get a coronavirus. COVID-19, and it's not fun. It's difficult, but you can fight this shit, you know. And I say, yes, I think COVID's a manufactured disease. You know, somebody was coming up with this evil disease, you know. Scientists let this thing get out. You know, it was much too fast acting and potentially lethal to be considered normal. You know, it's not a normal thing, you know. I've had colds through my life, and this thing was just, it'll attack you. I mean, it'll just go for you, go for the throat, basically, because that's how it started for me. I had a raspy throat, and it's never normal when you have your life on the line with a horrible disease like COVID-19. You know, that's my honest MICKMO observation, man, or ladies. Yeah, so what am I saying here? COVID-19 tried to go after me, but it made the honest mistake of messing with my Tourette syndrome. And that was like a defense of me anyway, because I've got Tourette syndrome. Yeah, I'm an artist, and I've been in the Conan O'Brien Art Hall of Fame, and I still have Tourette's. I still have flaws, of course, you know, and 30 plus years of, you know, PTSD. They call it aversion anyway. You know, in 2020 they call it social distancing, but back then that wasn't the name for what I had. I was just a recluse, or I was a loner, or I was the outcast. But you know, growing up, I was the recluse, but I was a deep thinker. I was a critical thinker. Of course I was. And I say, yes, you can combat this asshole fucking COVID-19, because, you know, if you do not combat this thing, then you're gonna be dead. You're just gonna die from it. It's not a pretty thing. You can get back from this. And of course, you know, a lot of people who are like metal musicians now, they survive this. And you know, you have to be a survivor when dealing with the coronavirus, this COVID-19. If it gets to your body internally, you know, otherwise this demonic disease entity is gonna take over your body and your soul. And you know, if you like living life, if you like breathing in and out your ruach, yeah, you gotta fight this shit, man. I mean, you just have to know what you're doing when you combat the COVID-19. That's it. You know, it's a very ugly lung disease, and you have to take triple to 4 times the amount of medicine a day. You know, you know, you got to take a lot of max strength over-the-counter meds and drink tons of water. You have to drink tons of water. Okay, lots and lots of vitamin C and counteractive meds. You know, so Theraflu, things with defense in them. You know, those cough drops that say defense on them. You know, the Hall's defense ones. Those work too. You know, you have to take care of this thing. You know, so you think antibody medicines. You got to take a lot of antibodies while you're on this COVID thing. So, you know, things with like tomatoes in them will work. I mean, this is an asshole disease. COVID-19. You do not want to fuck with this thing, but if you do have to deal with it, just basic things, if there's a thing that says stay home, that's common sense. I mean, you stay home and you recover from this shit, and it's not fun. It's it's a hard fight, and that's what I'm gonna tell people. I'm saying, I'm a survivor of the COVID-19. Of course I am, but I've survived other things too, and all of these other things that I had to survive in my life. That'll mentally prepare you automatically, it's survival. You are dealing with survival when you fight the COVID-19. You have to get tons of rest on this stuff. If there's a medical thing that says stay home, you stay home and you fight this thing, but you gotta fight it anyway. This thing is like a little evil imp that you gotta fight, and a little molecule that you see in the news, right? There's no halfway when you fight an evil imp COVID-19 contagion within your own body. I mean, it's just, it's ugly. It's not fun. You're not gonna have fun on this shit at all. It's an infectious lung disease. So you think of a lighter airborne molecule like pollen, right? It'll infect your lungs and it'll just go after your nervous system. And I say this, if you're a chain smoker or you do the vaping, that's not going to help you with this COVID thing. I'm sorry, no matter how light or heavy this COVID thing is, you have to fight it. I mean, you have to fight it. You can't be a powder puff with this COVID. It's a matter of life or death. And you're on the battlegrounds with this thing. I'm sure some nurses can tell you, or doctors, that the mentality you gotta get into is you've gotta be like a cage fighter mentality to fight this asshole disease called a coronavirus. It's no fun when you get this thing, and I truly believe, the entire Holy Trinity and infinite heavens were helping me. I said, well, why would I say that? Because I have people to help in an earth life. People might be hearing this story, and I'll be like, what? If you get this COVID-19, you have to fight it. You have to fight this shit. And it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. Don't expect a cakewalk. And I'm just telling you through my personal experiences, for me it was no fun whatsoever. It was the opposite. I mean, it was brutal, and it was, but you have to be more brutal, and you're going to defeat this COVID-19. You have to be prepared for a full-on fight. And I remember that from my deep dream. I uppercut the shit out of this floating coronavirus head, like Mike Tyson in a punching match. I had to do that, and I remember that in the deep dream, in an unconscious state with the forces, the entire forces of the Holy Trinity behind me. And I believe that you can defeat anything when you got the Holy Trinity behind you. I really do. And it's like, but prepare for total war. I call it shalom war, peace war. but prepare for total combat if you get the COVID-19. And you have to be a true shalom warrior. You have to fight. You have to dig deep down in your body, in your mind, in your soul, because this coronavirus, it's total pest, and if it tries to knock you down, you gotta get back up and you gotta fight this fucking COVID-19 full on. It's it takes no prisoners. If you let it kill you, you don't want to let it kill you. And okay, this art that I did in the video, it's the white gloves with the two golden prongs on it, and that's a Hebrew word, and it basically means in Hebrew warrior or combatant, but it also means fighter. You have to be a fighter with this evil COVID-19. You have to fight this shit in the trenches until you win. It's gonna be a battle. Okay. And lastly, I say much shaloms, plural, as possible when you get away from fighting this COVID-19 bullshit, because it sucks. And I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, but maybe my worst enemies have had this thing, or a lot of people have had this thing, and you fight this COVID on your own turf with the forces of the infinite galaxies. And I tell you what, you will be victorious in the end. You will. This thing's gonna take over your body and your mind, and it's gonna fuck with you. But you know what? You have to battle. You have to battle. And I say, remember your own ruach. I say it ruach. Your own spirit breath and everything else. If you're breathing, if your lungs are still breathing, then you're still in this fight for this COVID thing. If you remember that, you can get through anything. I say, remember your battle cry. Remember your inner fierceness when fighting this COVID-19 shit. It's not fun, but you can win. Okay, you can win against the evil COVID-19. You combat this thing with everything and every power at your disposals, no matter what it takes. But it's like I say, when you gotta fight this COVID-19, it is ugly, but if you do have to fight it, be prepared for a messy, bloody battle onslaught. But if you're confident, if you can win against this thing. It's a true inner and outer battle that you can win if you are willing to fight in the deep, dark trenches of the mind or the body. And you have to remember this. You have to remember that. That's why I'm putting out this message. Fight it in the deep, dark trenches of life. And that's what you have to do. I mean, life's a battle anyway, no matter what you fight. But when you get this coronavirus in your body, oh my goodness, it's not fun. I mean, it's one of the fastest acting diseases that tried to take over my body, but I kicked its fucking ass, man. And if it comes back, oh my god, I'm just gonna kick its ass again, And well, I wanted to get these words out, out of my mouth, out of my mind, and just leave it all on the table, basically. Alright. Yeah, COVID-19's fucking asshole, and I put that in the art too. I said, man, if it tries to attack my body or my mind, yeah, I'm gonna kick its fucking ass, man. Tell you what. Alright. So that's about it. And thanks for letting me share my story of my personal battle with COVID-19. You can win the fights if you're coordinated. You can fight this evil disease called the COVID-19 coronavirus. Like, and it's a fight for survival. It really is an intense battle when you get this thing. But I tell you what, you can fight this damn COVID-19 coronavirus, and you can win. I mean, you can win. Put on your battle gloves of glory, just like the artwork here. Alright, that's it from me. So, thanks for listening to me. My MICKMO'S Ruach video. Thank you very much. Shalom. Many shaloms to you folks out there. Shalom. 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 Thank you. Goodbye.